So when I got a chance to get involved in this, I'm not a driver, I happen to like cars, but to get involved in that and give some young fellas a bit of vision of what you can do and what you can achieve is absolutely fantastic. And if you can tap into that just passion, right? You tapped into it in the pedal car. Yep. You tapped into it when you saw the racing van, you saw the car. You tapped into it, and that's for the rest of your life the drive.
And John, from where we all came from, I mean, Ireland, there's an affinity in New York for Ireland because there's so many Irish people here. I don't know whether everybody has been to Ireland, but it's a small little place. There's only like 3 or 4 million people. Yep. There's not a lot of great, sporting opportunities. So for us to pick a route that really was never paved, the odds were stacked against you. But to think that a little small country like Ireland could produce Formula One drivers, the World Championship, I mean, it doesn't normally happen, but for opportunities, but for sacrifices, but for drive, etc. And that's why for me, when you call me, would I be part of this? For the young kids over there now, the money is so big to compete in this sport. They almost write off the opportunity immediately because they can't see through the clutter of the bills that need to get paid. And sportsmen across the world, I remember Jackie Stewart, I did a TV show with Jackie Stewart one time, and he said, athletes, racing drivers become ambassadors for their country all across the world. So it's using a sports platform to potentially wave the flag of Ireland in other countries around the world, which is part of the image creation tool of our great country that we can use, sports heroes potentially as ambassadors. And that's why for you to take on the challenge, because you're busy enough, but to take on the challenge and the time to reach back and support some kids. That's why he's here. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here. That's why we're all here, in the audience too, because it's a small little country. Can you imagine if we could make a difference? It's the Irish people with local pride in their guy that turns into national pride when you get on the big stage.
Absolutely.
Which is why it's so powerful. And so see that the Formula One car back there? So Guinness sponsored me in 1981. When Guinness were approached to see would they do that, they said, absolutely not. In no way, shape, or form will we get involved in drinking and driving. Makes sense, right?
Kinda does.
Right. My manager went back and said, what a perfect platform for Guinness to show when it is okay to drink and it's okay to drive, and you never mix the two. That was the magic set of sentences, and they sponsor that car. Now, to think 36 years later, that one check to sponsor me still gets exposure for a company like that. And that's how big this platform is.
That's exactly.
Unbelievable, the plug and play and the the that this sport, there's real life.
The car in the back of the room is a March 811 that Derek drove in 1981. I was fortunate enough, myself and Suzanne, to be able to purchase the car. And the car's got a Cosworth, the most winning Formula One engine ever, Ford Cosworth engine in it. And to sort of put Derek and the car back together again is...
I haven't seen the car for 36 years. Imagine that. And there it is, just as I raced it back in 1981. We were the last of the era of drivers who got to Formula One with talent and not a big check.
Right, you didn't buy your way.
To keep you there, yeah. It doesn't happen that much anymore. But remember, part of the reason it doesn't happen is Formula One is so big today. Governments are paying for Formula One races to go to their country. Because you cannot buy a 2-hour infomercial about your country that beams across the rest of the world as cheaply as you can buy a Formula One race. The eyes of the world is the largest watch sports event platform in the world today. And so the countries see it as a 2-hour infomercial for their country.
Absolutely.
The reason Malaysia had a Formula One race, most of the world thought it was a third world country.
Now they knew different.
Until a Formula One race went there, they say, whoa, look at this place. And it's an image creation tool now. It's so big. That's why people want to buy into it. That's why companies want to buy into it, because they want to be part of this success story. And why would a German company not want a German ambassador driver? Because it's national pride that turns into, that drives these sports and these companies and these success stories.
Formula One today versus Formula One back in the day. Better or worse? Aside from the business, aside from the platform, aside from the global reach, aside from the money, but just from the sheer sport of it.
Same.
I still find Formula One the most fascinating sport year in, year out.
I still wake up every single morning to watch it and watch the start of it. And yes, things have changed now. You got your paddle shifts and you don't change gear anymore. So maybe it's brought the top 10 drivers maybe a little bit closer. It might be a little bit harder to find a superstar, which of course we have another superstar, which is Max Verstappen. So the great guys always come to the top.
Jesus, look, to be sitting alongside two Irish guys that competed in Formula One is amazing. But for them to, I guess, endorse what we're doing is the important thing. And we're at the end of the second year of John has agreed to be on board with us for 5 years, which is brilliant. Hopefully at the end of that we'll have a good, strong review process, and we might keep him on board for another 5. So that's all I have to say, really. Thank you so much.
Final word, Derek.
So I think this is an initiative. Right. We're all, in early days of any initiative, we all get emotionally involved and says, yeah, let's go do this. The hard work starts after year 2 or 3. And what interests me is this potentially becoming long-term. Right. And what I want to see is we have the emotion and the passion. Now we have that as a platform. I want to see the business end of it begin to be put in place. So as whoever is the recipient of this support understands how tough this business is. And so we're going to grow athletes and people, hopefully, that whatever level they go to, it's an education for them through the sport to be better people than they've ever been before, because then they in turn will in some way support our sport as they go forward.
Well said. Yeah. Well said. Tommy, final words.
A couple of years ago, I actually found out who John was because I was looking on Facebook or something, and I seen that he was, he's this Irish guy that came over and he's supporting Team Ireland, and so I got in contact with him. It was pretty easy, actually. Just anybody wants to get in contact, just messenger. So I messaged John and said, how are you doing? He goes, great, yeah, Tommy, I read your book a while back. You're such a, fucker, whatever the case may be. But I
would never use language such as that, ever. Ever.
So we've been trying to get together for the last 3 years, or 2 years, whatever the case may be. And here we are today. And I'm glad to come up and help you guys over there, because we did not have this when I was growing up, and you possibly guys could have helped me a little bit not go out with horse night before races.
Tommy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.